I can tell by your faces that many of you are shocked at the outcome. I, on the other hand, am not, because I have had the misfortune of teaching you this semester, and even with my ocular limitations, I witnessed firsthand your glazed, uncomprehending expressions.
Sir, I don't understand.
That's glaringly apparent.
Thank you so much for being here, and congratulations on such a beautiful, funny, human movie. I want to start with Alexander, because I understand you've sort of been mulling over a story like this or a story about boarding schools for years. Can you tell me sort of the initial spark or inspiration for the Holdovers?
The idea came from my viewing of a 1935 French film by Marcel Pagnol, and it had the same general premise. Not the same story, but the same premise. And I thought, that's a good idea for a movie. And then I got a screenplay from this guy for a pilot about 5 years ago, set at a boarding school. And I thought, aha, let me call him up and see if maybe he could get a draft going of this story. So I called him up, asked him if he would do it. He said yes. God bless him, and here it is.
And at what point did you realize that this wasn't a joke? And Alexander,
I thought it was a joke.
Yeah.
Thank you for mentioning that. I have a buddy of mine who likes to call me up and pretend to be various creative luminaries.
No.
Yeah, no. I was shooting a TV show over in Prague, and I've been flying a lot, and I was dog tired to the point of delirium, and I got this call, and I was about to curse him out lovingly and hang up the phone, and I noticed the Omaha area code, and I was like, you're Alexander Payne.
Wow.
You really are? He goes, yeah. So that flowed from that, and he sort of, as a threshold matter, mentioned this, and I jumped on it immediately, immediately.
Can you tell us a little more, though, about the process of building these really complex characters? Because the movie is so character-driven.
Yeah, as Alexander rightly pointed out, he had this sort of log line, which was kind of ocularly challenged, kind of odoriferous professor.
Ocularly challenged?
Yeah,
Odoriferous.
and he's punished into staying there. And there's this one kid whose mom, has stranded him, and that's kind of what we both knew. And then I started thinking about, well, okay, I definitely know the world of these kids. I understand the universe of these boys. I was one. I remember it 6 years. I remember vividly, etched into my memory, burned into my memory. I said, I think I want to kind of peel off those other kids, and I just want to focus on 3 people. And basically, I was mining my uncle who raised me, who was an extraordinary guy and this incredibly vivid, kind of baroquely profane person who was just a ferocious genius. He was just a great, interesting, autodidact, amazing guy. My mom, who was an incredibly loving, hardworking woman, and my dad, who had taught at a prep school, who had actually never graduated from high school, ended up in the Merchant Marine World War II, and ended up at Yale in the GI Bill. So I kind of used my personal history to frame it.
And Kevin, you've been working with Alexander since Citizen Ruth.
Correct.
Going all the way back to the beginning, maybe even further back than that, if there were student films or anything.
No.
What's
Citizen
the
Ruth.
secret to such a successful ongoing collaboration?
I think we're similar in some respects. We have similar tastes, and I grew up in Buffalo, New York. You grew up in Omaha. I think there's similar Midwestern.
We're like sister cities.
Yeah. And I don't know, we got along when we first met, and we work really hard, but he's wonderful to work with, and as anyone will tell you, and he makes it fun, and I like that too. I think I was that way even before
I'd love to work with a different editor, but his wife would kill me.
That's true.
They talk about directors and actors having a shorthand, but I have to imagine you two must edit relatively fast for filmmakers.
He's super slow.
Really?
He's really slow.
We're both slow. We're meticulous.
Meticulous is a better word for it, yes.
We're very meticulous. We go over things. If people saw the minutia and discussions we go into about certain little things, they'd think we're crazy probably, but God is in the details.
Yes. We have to talk about this amazing cast because every single role is so well cast. But I'm curious, did you go to Paul Giamatti and say ocularly challenged and odoriferous and I want you?
I personally did not say that, no.
The pitch was a little warmer than that.
Well, I was just all in the screenplay that
Yeah.
he has a wonky eye, and then it comes out later he smells bad.
And it was written with him in mind.
Absolutely,
So was
It was a
is-
threshold conversation. I mean, when we first started talking, I mean, I think if not the first conversation, the second, he was like, "How do you feel about Paul Giamatti?" And I said, "I love Paul Giamatti," and so that's why the character's name is Paul. I mean, I tailor-made this for him with Alexander sitting beside me. We talked about it at length, and I would send him drafts. And the thing about Paul is he's so incredibly expressive. You see like 5 thoughts cross his mind, just in his eyes and his face. It's just incredible.
Paul Giamatti is a great artist.
He is.
When handing him a role like this, it's like giving a part to Meryl Streep or Ralph Richardson or, like, I'm not going to sweat at all what he's going to do with the part. I give him the part and I'm just dying of curiosity to see what he's going to do with it. It's like I'm then a film watcher just watching him do it. It could be a little bit more like this or that, but whatever it is, whatever he's going to do is going to be great. He's creating that. It's really fun to watch.
Kevin, I'm jealous of you because you get to see so many different takes of these performances.
Well, I can say this about Paul's performance too, and I said this the other night too. You wrote some real tongue twisters for him, but he just nailed them all the time. And I mean, maybe once or twice I can think where he had to step back and go, wait, let me go back and get that again.
There are very few actors that I can think of who could hold their own with Paul Giamatti, and so you went out and found one in Dominic Sessa, who is just incredible. And
The kid,
Yes.
who plays
Angus. Yes.
The kid, this guy had never been in front of a camera before. He was an actual senior at Deerfield Academy, playing a junior at basically Deerfield Academy, and we were shooting at Deerfield Academy. And this after the casting director fielded about 800 submissions for that part, of which I saw maybe 10% of that. And so we wound up calling up the schools where I actually was going to be shooting, contact the drama teacher. And there he was. I picked up 2 actors from Deerfield, him and the blonde kid in the opening scene who goes, "Oh, I eat that Cobb salad."
That's great.
So he was an actual junior
Wow.
at Deerfield.
I can think of so many actors that I feel you discovered or at least introduced us to. How did you develop this amazing eye for talent?
Oh, well.
You're not ocularly challenged when it comes
Yeah,
to talent.
thank you. And I don't pay myself many compliments in filmmaking, but I do think I've had some pretty good luck with casting. Because it's the most important thing. And, a movie can be anything. But in the types of movies we're concerned with, basically 2-hour narrative, commercial-ish, feature films, the most important things are screenplay and casting. Sometimes you just think the gods are with you, and finding this kid, Dominic Sessa, who had never been in front of a camera and then wasn't just a good actor, but a good film actor.
Yeah.
Like he had the right relaxation and he was very good technically. I want him to feel really real, like they're really the right age and really in high school. And you meet the kind of Hollywood kids, the star kids who are on some TV show or some hit movie or something, and they're too polished. And then you look at non-professional actors or non-actors, and they might have an interesting like spirit or face, but maybe aren't going to be bulletproof is the word I use when we start shooting. So it just takes time.
Divine Joy Randolph here. I knew she would be funny. She is utterly heartbreaking. She's such an accomplished actor on stage. Do you audition someone like that, or do you just know?
Both. So first of all, Divine, like Paul, got her MFA in acting at Yale. And I had seen her in Dolomite Is My Name, a very fine motion picture. And she kind of steals a lot of the scenes she's in with Eddie Murphy. Hard to do, but she did it. And when I went to start meeting actresses to play that part, I asked for her by name.
Wow.
But I typically like to use actors with comic chops in dramatic parts. And I thought maybe she could do it.
The Holdovers feels like it was a movie made in the 70s with the music and the whole production design. What were some of the other ways you reinforced this 70s feel, also in the editing and in the writing?
I wanted this to have the feel that we had made a low-budget film in 1970 with largely found locations. We're not making period film. We're doing an exercise of making a contemporary film set in 1970. And then the DI process afterwards, they have many wonderful tools right now to give it a genuine filmic look.
In our editing process, we really approached it like we do all our films. Our approach didn't really change.
Yeah.
We did what we always did, which is, like I said, really let performances drive our decisions in the cutting room.
Writing-wise, I just sort of started saturating myself in those movies, in the Hashby movies, and the Bob Rafosa movies, and the Robert Altman movies, and Milos Forman and Francis Ford Coppola. Like, I just sort of wanted to see how what the humanist rhythms of those movies were, which were very different than a lot of the cinema from the last 30 years. And I loved them growing up, and I rediscovered them, and I just sort of tried to replicate that sort of gradual reveal, which is actually, present in every single one of his movies.
Yeah.
I mean, Alexander's, you learn about these people through what they do and how they react, and their shameful secrets emerge and their passions. So I was very interested in kind of like replicating that 70s humanist feel, and I really tried hard to do that.
Obviously, there's this wonderful dialogue. Like penis cancer in human form, I'll be saying till the end of my life. But there's so much found in the silences, in the things that go unsaid. Can you talk about sort of choosing to utilize that silence?
This man, judiciously and wisely, was constantly about, he refers to something called emotional brake fluid, where like, what is stopping and starting the character? And what I discovered was, oftentimes the silences and the freighted silences, the weighted silences, judiciously employed. And I was like thinking about my youngest son he studies in animation right now, and he loves Miyazaki, And Miyazaki has this concept of this idea of which is like silence in an animated film, in which it's all kind of whole cloth. But when I was talking to my 20-year-old son and he was watching Miyazaki, I'm like, I want to use that technique.
The really cool thing is that this movie is now playing in theaters, so you can all go out and see it again and again. And it goes wide on November 10th. Please spread the word. It's such a special film. Thank you so much for being a great audience, and thank you all.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thanks very much. Thanks for coming.